Oh, you probably need to be able to share your screens. Sorry.
Yep. And I guess, does nobody else will have their camera? Are they just able to still see this? Because I don't see them.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
Jessica says she can see us. That's very good.
There we go. Is that your screen?
That is not my screen.
All right.
That must be your screen.
I
can let me share my screen. Okay. Host has disabled participant screen sharing. There we
go. There you go. No.
Nope. Huh. That's your screen, I think, Robin.
It was strange. It didn't ask me for a password.
Me neither.
No, because you're panelist.
Oh, okay. I don't need to be a panelist really, but I'm happy to be here with the group.
Hi. All right, let's try. Okay.
Looks like we've got 5 attendees.
Yep.
Jim is on there. That's the name I know. That's the only one I know so far.
I don't.
So are you seeing under security the ability to allow others to be a host, maybe?
No, I can switch them to panelist. Oh, hold on. Morning, Josie. Why? There we go.
Okay, I can now do it.
Okay, good. Let's see.
Are our attendees able to see? I can't see the chat box, so I'm hoping Beth is.
I can see.
I can see the chat box.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right,
thanks,
everybody's good to go. Well, thanks everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully everybody's in the room. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, feel free to throw it in the chat and Beth is going to help me monitor that. But first I'd like to introduce myself. I'm fairly new to the vendor side of things. I have been managing college bookstores for quite a while. I was a user of the Verba VitalSource tools at my last campus over the last 5 years and joined the team in August of last year. So I got about half of my territory in November, December, and then COVID happened and they gave me the Northeast and I haven't been able to travel or meet anybody or introduce myself. So it's been an interesting few months trying to, I guess, have a sales kind of a job without the ability to get a hold of anybody. But anyway, it's been a fun challenge and I hope to get to meet everybody at some point soon. So you can see I have quite a few states. I listed them here and I gave you some of my experience in the textbook course materials industry listed there for you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about maximizing course material sales by creating a convenient virtual shopping experience. And here is our agenda. So we're going to be talking about meeting students where they are, which is virtually, of course, expanding student choice options, ways to promote course materials, which is kind of a new thing, which we'll get into that, of course, and then creating convenience by going to where your students are. And so we will go ahead and get going. We surveyed 75 stores in July, I think it was June or July. So this summer, we surveyed 75 stores and these were their results of how their lives have basically changed because of the pandemic. So our highest is their increased reliance on e-commerce, of course, increased reliance on digital course materials. And I'm not going to read all these, so feel free to check those out. we see what we're going to be talking about today is marketing at some point. And you'll see only 15 respondents said that they had increased marketing to their new and returning students. So we're going to touch on that, as well as digital course materials and convenience. But I thought that's an interesting how low this bar is. And so we're talking about promoting course materials. I think everybody's familiar, if you've been managing your campus store for a while. When we think marketing, I think we go straight to the fun stuff, your sweatshirts and your t-shirts and your notebook sales. And we've always just kind of let course materials sell themselves, right? They're required, so you don't really need to push it on students or focus too much in a marketing sense. That is all gone. We have to fight for every sale now. And that even comes with course materials, which can be new to people. And so, Robin, if you could post our first poll, I'm going to have all of our attendees answer this poll. Have you been focused on marketing your course materials this fall, summer and fall? I'm curious to see what your answers are. Okay.
We do have a couple of vendor members, so we may only get the 3 votes.
All right, let's see what our results are. Okay, if we only had 3 respondents, then we know that everybody picked a different option, which is cool, I suppose. So we've got one store that's basically saying, no, we haven't been focused on that at all. One store apparently is saying, yeah, we've been tinkering in it. And the other store was all about it. If you look at this slide that we're on, are you exploring new ways to market course materials to students in the fall? We did have 60% that said yes, and this is interesting, I'm not sure, and then a little bit said no. So here is what those respondents said. Most of them were using social media marketing as far as their course materials. We've got store presence inside the LMS, which is going to be the ending of our conversation today. Email marketing and use of digital display ads. Okay, so we are going to talk about 3 ways to make it easier for your students. And the number one goal is to meet students where they are. With the majority of students taking online or hybrid courses, we've got to reach them where they are. And there's 3 ways that we can do that. E-commerce, which means our point of sale systems, our website, our own e-commerce, or our white label stores. Sometimes, by the way, when I say white label store, I just hope everybody knows what that means. Funny story, when I started with Verva Vital Source, I had no idea what that meant. And it took a while to get my company to really explain that to me, where I knew what was going on. So if you don't know what a white label store is, like I did not for a while, it's just vitalsource.com or redshelf.com, but branded as your own institution. So I just don't like to assume sometimes that people know what that means when I say something like that. And then, of course, inclusive access and experience, LMS, your e-commerce experience inside the LMS is how we're going to talk about these 3 ways of meeting students where they are. First up is e-commerce. How does your user experience compare to maybe some websites that aren't in our industry? So what we're talking about here is we're challenging you to go back to your campus store website and really audit yourself as if you were a student. What does that look like if you're trying to order a book? how many clicks does it take you to get to the end point? Is it 4? Is it 14? There are some bookstore websites out there that I've seen that we're flashing disclaimers, and we're almost making it look negative. You know, I know from an operational bookstore standpoint that we think about, I need to make sure they know my return policy, and I need to make sure they know the last day to, you know, all of our different disclaimers and policies that change throughout the terms. We have to throw that up there. But you should audit those click paths, or even just like invite your family or friends that have nothing to do with your job. Ask them to go shop your website and look at it from fresh eyes and determine your click path we're talking about here, and your promotions. These are kind of some of the things that we're going to challenge you, or you should be challenging yourself to look at your e-commerce and determine if it's easy or if it's cumbersome for your students to shop your own website. Highlight your capabilities. Don't focus on negative things. If you do have to have disclaimers, is there a way you can use shorter bullet points to link out to other pages where there's a bunch of text, as opposed to blocking your entire web page with a bunch of text about disclaimers? Because let's be real, they're not going to read it anyway, right? So if there's a way for you to clean up those pages, you know, if you're worried about not having disclaimers, which I would be, I would want to be able to tell a student, well, you know, I did put that on the website, that policy, but maybe instead of having so wordy around everything else, can we just provide a little link that takes them to a separate page? So just some things to audit yourself on. Multiple student choice options for purchasing, different payment options, and of course, super important now, contactless pickup methods. Here are some great examples that other stores are doing from a standpoint of marketing course materials. So this first one right here, these are clickable digital ads. And so we've got simple text. We're not overdoing it. We've got simple pictures, very visual, and then making them clickable. So these are some things for you to be thinking about. Look, I was terrible at marketing in my store. I'm always willing to admit that. If you are the same, and maybe you don't have the resources where you don't have a marketing, you know, manager on your staff, I think that's where your association comes into play, right? You need to reach out to your association and be honest and say, I struggle with marketing. Who's got a really good idea for me? And use your vendors. You know, your vendors are talking to other stores all across the country. Reach out to them and say, look, I know you may not be in the business of marketing course materials, but can you reach out to some of your stores that maybe have a really good marketing manager and help me get some ideas? So those are some things you can do to leverage your associations and your vendor partners. Okay, we have another poll, Robin. Increase student purchase options with digital. So the poll that's about to throw up there is, are you offering digital choice at the point of sale? And by the way, we say point of sale, some people, when I say point of sale in this context, we're saying in your registers or on your e-commerce site. Are digital books an option next to your print options? So let's get that poll going.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, here we go. It's the
All
first webinar I've done with polling.
Well, you're doing great. Are you offering digital choice through your register or your website? And so we're curious to know. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so it's, yes.
I doubt your registrar has a website. They might, but
Register or website. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I just like to, sometimes when I say point of sale, some people, merge it with, they know everything in my Nebraska system or my MBS system or NetSuite. But
So
sometimes,
all of our people said, oh,
boom, love it.
yes.
Love it. I gave this presentation to mid-states because Missouri is in my territory. And we did have a few stores that weren't touching digital yet. So I don't, again, like to assume that everyone's doing it, but great results here that everybody's offering digital. So adopt and offer digital choice for every title when you can. You can put it at the top. I think within your inventory management system, you can either filter, your in-stock, your print business up at top, or you can say, show students the lowest price option at the top. And that's what this slide is talking about there. Again, course materials, social media. These are some things that our marketing department created. Again, these were clickable ads that you can use on your social media. So if you're, a Verbal Vital Source customer, you can get these on our Campus Store resources page and throw them on your social media. And then if you're not a Verbal Vital Source customer, these are just some good ideas that you can take. Again, simple, cool colors, short text. We're not going to overload anybody with text, and making them clickable is super important. Okay, inclusive access. Last poll, everyone, I promise. We're going to do one more poll in our last poll, and it is about inclusive access. Are you doing inclusive access at your campus? So let's see how this one goes. Okay. All right. It looks like we had 4 respondents, and 2 were not doing inclusive access, and 1 is starting soon, and 1 is absolutely excited about it. So this is interesting. And I don't want to presume why you're not doing inclusive access, but these next few slides are going to talk about inclusive access and how stores have used inclusive access to really help them through the challenging few months or semester that we've had. Here's an inclusive access to print comparison. Sometimes when I introduce a new campus bookstore manager to inclusive access, I think one of the scary things up front can be margin. I'm so used to getting a larger margin on my used or my new business that what scares me about going to inclusive access is I'm not going to get those same margins. And this information was taken from NACS. But if we talk about print inventory and what goes in from an expense standpoint to managing that print inventory that doesn't come along with inclusive access, then we're talking more apples to apples, because when you're managing an inclusive access program, you're looking at less payroll, less freight, less supplies, less theft, shrink, cash flow, all of these things that come with print. And look, I've touched so many books in my life. I'm all about some print business. That's a big part of my career. And so I get it. It would be hard to step away from that even for me, but I get it now. Inclusive access, you are able to deliver that material so quick and so easy to your student with none of those expenses that come along with it. And so that's what this slide is just kind of showing you there. And this is an anonymous store. This is their inclusive access growth over the last 4 years. So in 2017, they had 524 licenses, which is a decent pilot. They grew a little bit in 2018. And then from 2018 to 2019, it looks like it really took off. But that had nothing in comparison to what they did from 2019 to 2020. That is an amazing growth. And again, when we think back to how much less shipping and freight and issues that come with the print business that they were able to handle, and they're able to turn on a dime with this. If their campus was closed all of a sudden, if your campus said tomorrow, everybody leave campus like they did in March, if you've got inclusive access up and running, you're going to be okay. You can just move all those items into your inclusive access program. So this is the story of how this one store really improved their inclusive access business. Okay, so there are 3 different item types in inclusive access. We've got courseware is there in the middle. That's your blue line. E-text is your ebook business. There's the bottom line, and then a bundle of the 2 is top. And what we're showing you here is the reduction in prices over the last 3 years. They've all gone down, but you see the ebook prices have just reduced so much more than your courseware, your bundle business. And that ebook drop in price is so huge for your students from an affordability standpoint. But it also has other effects that we're going to see in the next slide. As ebook prices come down, they actually increase as part of your inclusive access mix. And so we're showing you here our Verba data, the content mix over time. And if we look at the orange, how much it has grown from 2019 to 2020 in terms of being part of inclusive access programs. Courseware has gone up, of course, but those ebooks have gone up even much more. When we look at opt-out rates, in 2018, we didn't, this is, by the way, national Verba customers opt-out rates averaged out 3.7. It increased a little last year. And then this year, quite a large increase. This does have to do with those ebooks that are more part of your inclusive access mix. We know that courseware, you're going to have fewer opt-outs because if a courseware is required for your course, the students really don't have another option. So they're going to stay in that program. However, with ebooks, we know that they have alternative options. So as ebooks increase as part of your content mix, so will those ebook opt-outs. And so the total opt-out rate has increased as the mix type has increased there. Here we're talking about promoting your affordability on your campus. If you are providing an inclusive access program, or even if you're just providing digital choice, you need to make sure you are sharing that win to your campus, that you are saving students money, that you are promoting affordability. One of the things when I look back at my bookstore career is I was never good at patting myself on the back or promoting all the cool things I did. I just kind of put my head down and worked, if I'm being honest. But I tell you what, if your institution is hearing from Follett or Barnes, those companies are going to come in and say, we're going to talk about the amazing things we can do to save your students money. So don't let them do that. You make sure you are sharing your wins and your successes. So if you have an inclusive access program, make sure you're capturing the student savings and you're promoting that. That's huge. You need to be looked at. You need to have that be a part of your reputation, that's a focus. And so here's some examples from other campuses. And here's another example, University of Utah. They actually put it on their top header bar on their website. They are having instructors talk about the benefits of inclusive access, and they're putting that kind of front and center up on their website. I had a store that just started inclusive access in January of 2020, built it up a little bit in the summer, and then this past fall, a few months ago, it exploded. It was huge. And the textbook manager was telling me a story last week. She said the textbook, one of the faculty member came in her office and said, why wouldn't an instructor do this? Once they realized what this program, how it worked, how it benefited instructors, how it benefited students, the instructor was the new advocate for the bookstore to go get other instructors on campus to be a part of the program. And that's what University of Utah is doing here, is they're using instructors as advocates for this program. And finally, the last kind of topic of discussion we're going to talk about is opportunity in the LMS. Again, I don't want to assume everybody knows what LMS means. You probably do. LMS is your learning management system. This is where your student is logging into the portal. This is where they're seeing all of their online courses and sometimes even their in-class courses. This is your Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, D2L. This is your learning management system. And what we're talking about is putting your campus bookstore, your course materials inside the LMS. So this could be new to you, this whole idea. So you'll see on the left here, your instructor sets up, this is probably Canvas if I had to guess. Your instructor sets this up, the grades, modules, videos that go to YouTube. Your instructor sets this up for all of your students to see. It doesn't have so much bookshelf going on. It doesn't say this is just our demo account, but it has who are the students in my class, the syllabus, we are able to work with you to put course materials, your bookstore, your print and your digital materials as links inside the LMS. And so this, we've got, if a student is in this course, maybe this is Biology 111, they're going to see their Biology 111 inclusive access item where they're able to opt out or read their digital book. But they're also able to see the print book that's not part of inclusive access. It has nothing to do with inclusive access. They click this compare and purchase link and they're taken to your e-commerce, your normal website. But we're putting it inside the LMS where your student is going every day. This is almost like you're able to have your student walk in your store every day. I used to always say in my retail history, once a student is inside my store, my four walls, then it's my job to take care of them and give them great customer service. I just needed help. How do I get customer traffic to come inside my store? This is a whole new storefront for you. You're putting your store inside the LMS, which could be huge. And this is data from fall. And what we are showing you is when the student is inside the LMS shopping your bookstore, this is the comparison between LMS only checkouts versus if they're going, all checkouts combined. So if they're going directly to your website, bookstore, your bookstore website, and they're checking out. So we see that new books, they're getting more of those in the regular checkout than the LMS checkout. The same with used and the same with rental, but look at those digital items, way more delivered through the LMS than the regular checkout. And so this is some really good data that we are watching to see the differences when they are using your LMS only checkout. That is our presentation. Here's our recap. We are talking about meeting students where they are. Don't anticipate them coming to you. You have to go to where they are, which is social media, which is in the LMS, which is your e-commerce. Make it easy for your student to shop. Have fresh eyes at your own e-commerce. Audit yourself, challenge yourself to make it easy for students to buy. Don't make it hard for them to buy. And then market and promote your course material capabilities. And share your successes to your institution and your students. It's super important. Questions? All right. I think there was some clicks happening in the chat room, but I couldn't read them, Beth. What have we got going on?
Well, we didn't have any questions. Robin pointed out that they've already in the Northeast region had a brag book session, and that
Oh.
some of these concepts kind of melded with that. Robin, do you want to say anything?
Oh, yes, we've actually had a couple of brag book sessions at subsequent meetings, and certainly you should be bragging on what you're saving your students if you can capture that, or how you're reaching out to them. How depends on how you're gathering your information, but certainly with the Verba compare and software, you have that information, how many you're saving, how well you're doing against your competitors. Once again, we just have to make sure we're showing our value as it was said. So
Does VitalSource have any marketing packages that they can share? We do have some great information we can share, Jim, and let me make a note to send you that after the fact. I'll have to hunt it down, but we have a good resource for you. Oh, and Beth already answered that. Look at me for not reading all the way through.
That's all right. I jumped the gun. I don't know if anybody noticed my comment that I heard yesterday at EDUCAUSE about the LMS is the watering hole of campus. I wrote that down. I thought that's pretty smart, because the guy was making the point, like, everybody has to go there to survive. They're going to be there once a day. So I think that's a good point for bookstores, that if any way they can have access to the LMS, get your products in the LMS, be a presence in there. Of course, the LMS kind of came on as a big thing after I left my store, but apparently it's also sort of the announcement and messaging functionality at many campuses. So if you can get your bookstore announcements through that, sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, if you don't have a connection with your LMS staff on campus, you need to start that. You need to be giving some free sodas or something from your store. Yeah, you got to butter them up, I think. It's a different person. You know, I feel like bookstore people have a personality, and I feel like LMS people have a personality. So I think it's important, you know, for you guys as an association to talk about that and have discussions of how those personalities are at your campus, and help the other stores in your association kind of navigate that if they don't have a strong relationship already, use each other. But I think it's super important nowadays to know who your LMS team is and try to build a relationship. What's that, Beth?
Ask for a login. The bookstore manager should have the ability to be in there, and there are many campuses, there'll be a little friction to get it. So if you're doing your buttering up, get yourself a login.
I'm working with the campus right now. In fact, the email came through yesterday. They gave the bookstore a fake course. They assigned the bookstore manager as a fake instructor. And so now all of a sudden that bookstore staff gets to see exactly what their students are seeing and exactly what their instructors are seeing. That is huge. I'll say this, a few years ago when courseware started taking over, I feel like a lot of bookstore managers and textbook managers, we were selling codes, but we didn't know what the heck happened after that. We didn't know what the student did with the code or what it looked like when the student redeemed the code on Cengage or Pearson's website, and then what courseware really was. It wasn't until I was a student a few years ago taking a class that I was assigned courseware. And then it was like, oh, okay, now I get what all this courseware talk is about. I feel like sometimes we as bookstore staff, we sell it, and we kind of deal with it, but we don't necessarily know what it is. And the same with the LMS. If you can get a link or become part of your LMS as a test course or test instructor, that is huge for you to know.
So we at Clark actually have a bookstore where our textbooks are outsourced, but there is a link in our LMS, but they would only allow it on the front page because they consider it marketing and they won't allow us to market. And so that is something that people could be aware. Is there anyone currently on the webinar that actually has an LMS link set up? You just chat in the chat box if you do.
And Donald, that's a great point. He just wrote that if you're not certain how your courseware works for the student, ask your pub rep and get a code for yourself.
So Jim, there is a link in our LMS. We have Moodle. So if you go to the, as you log in as Moodle as a student, there is a link there that will take you to the bookstore. But what John was saying was they, with Verba, can do it within the class. So we couldn't do it within the class. So if the student is logged into their class, it automatically brings them to their books. With my type of link, well, if they're logged in, it will show them what classes they are, but it's not a direct one-on-one link. So if they could skip over it on the home page, where within the course page itself, they see the books and they can immediately purchase them. And I didn't know if anyone on this call, on the webinar, has had an LMS linker. So at Cornell, they do have it within the courses.
And another thing I did at Samford was, it wasn't necessarily in the LMS, it was where the students were going to register for classes. For us, that was in Banner, I think. And so when the student was shopping for classes to be a part of, to register for class, I worked it out with my IT and my Nebraska WinPrism software that there was a link next to the course that said view course materials. And if they clicked that link in Banner, they were able to go directly to the book on my website to kind of see what is the requirement, the text requirement for this course. And that was to try to help them make an informed decision of, here's the class, here's the time, Tuesday, Thursday at this time, but what is the required course materials like for this course? And so that's another way to kind of embed your e-commerce into a student's decision, if that's something you feel like would be helpful.
This is a quiet
Yep.
group. You can unmute yourself. we don't have to chat.
This is the anti-microphone group here.
Right.
All right, guys, any other questions? I mean, we don't want to keep you for too much longer. It's hopefully a pretty Friday. Jim is unable to unmute, he says. Oh, it looks like this is set up. Like, well, maybe the
let me unmute everybody.
We're over here giving y'all a hard time and y'all have no options.
Whoops.
I can
wow,
talk
look
now.
at this. Wow, this is impressive.
Yeah, I'd rather talk than have my
Right.
finger going, typing at the keyboard. I do enough of that today.
Well, hello, everybody. It's good to see your names and your profile pictures and hear your voices.
Okay.
But no, good panel. Thank you very much. Helpful information.
Great. Well, all right, guys, I appreciate your time. And if nobody has anything else, I don't know if Robin, you need to go over anything else while you have your participants here.
I don't. And by, Monday, we'll have the hang of all of this nonsense. No, if you're planning on doing any of the other webinars, we have, let's see, best practices for e-commerce this afternoon. We have connections on Monday, the NAC seminar on Monday morning, and then a couple of roundtables Monday afternoon, and the user groups on Tuesday. everything is still up on the website, and you can certainly register if you want to.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Robin.
Yep.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.